So, good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon here in Milan, and good afternoon also from New York. We are here today for the master class of Confagricoltura, Exploring Italian Signature. And so we are going to taste 8 wines, and we are going to discover which Italian signature we have, which is recognizable abroad. We are going to taste different wines from north to the south of Italy, different regions, but still with a leitmotif. And the leitmotif, first of all, is the territory, and I will tell you. Many of you who participate in this Milano Wine Week already know, and definitely you know that the terroir for winemaking is a key concept upon which all the wines that we're about to taste are based, and we're going to have wines produced very close to the sea and wines produced very close to the mountains. And so we are going to see different characteristics and peculiarities in the glasses that we're going to taste. So today we're going to taste 8 wines from 8 wineries participating in Confagricoltura, and we are going to know them. Somebody will be connected with us, and here, otherwise, I will talk about them. So the Italian signature through the producer. So the wineries are also family enterprises. So they start from the concept of a family, and they grew over time structured wineries. So we are going to have the wines served in a couple of minutes, and we will start from Pantelleria, from the Sicily region, and we're going to make a journey starting from Pantelleria Island. And Pantelleria is famous for Passito wines, but today we're going to start with a dry wine. And so we have another version of the vine variety typical of the island, which is a Zibibbo. And so firm, dry Zibibbo with 80% of Zibibbo grapes, and then the remaining part, local Sicilian grapes. The first company is Tenuta Prosit. We are not going to have a connection with it, video connection, but this winery also produces capers, olive oil, based in Pantelleria, and we also have tourism and accommodations offered by the winery. So all activities are linked to the territory. And the wine is a Pantelleria DOC, firm and dry. So we will talk about this. So we start from the south of Italy, and all these grapes are grown with the Pantesco tree. This is a very special type of growing without supports, where the plant grows on itself without poles and sticks, and the plant remains very short, staying in contact with the earth, with the soil, and this is due to 2 things: the wind, because the island is very windy, and as from the Arabic, Pantelleria keeps in its name a part of the idea of this windy island. And these short plants are also protected against the winds. And there is also a very large difference between the day temperature and night temperature. So during the night, when the temperature go down, goes down, well, the soil releases the heat that it has absorbed during the day. Do you have the first wine already served? Yes, I also have mine. Okay, so thank you. So now we can start tasting Tenuta Prosit Alzine, Pantelleria DOC, 80% Zibibo, and 20% local varieties. To the nose, well, we immediately feel the apricot flowers, the typical Zibibo characteristics. We have the impression this is an aromatic wine. Taste. Taste, despite, so the nose is very delicate. The taste, well, it's very fresh and it's dry. And it is an aromatic wine. And this is our starting point. So we started from Pantelleria, and we are now exploring the Italian signature. So, and with regard to the other wines, we will find a leitmotif that reminds of the terroir. A question, Pantelleria Island. What kind of soil do you imagine? What kind of terroir do you imagine? This is an island of volcanic origin. Thank you. I know that you're shy. So this is a volcanic island with a volcanic soil. And this, of course, creates a balance, a different balance in the wine. This is a soil rich in minerals. So the fact that this is a volcanic soil, of course, this is reflected in the wine, aromatic wine, and this is accentuated by the vine variety. So the first wine comes from an island with a volcanic terroir. So do you have comments with regard to this wine? Since there is no connection with the winery, maybe you can tell me. Can you perceive these minerals? Yes, yes, they are nodding here, and they are nodding here. Yes, in fact, we can feel this closeness to volcanic soils. And so this is also typical of the South, a wine typical of the South. And gradually we will go up north, but this is very fruity, very fresh, very pleasant. What would you combine it with? So maybe fish, but also veggies. Or maybe, yes, with the aperitif, as an aperitif, first course. Well, this wine can be combined very well with fish recipes and light recipes. So if you do not have any questions also from New York, oh yes, here we have a question. Local grapes, and it may vary according to the year and the needs, but it could be Insolia or Grillo grapes. Yes, this is typical of a Pantelleria. 80% of 80% Zibibo, typical of a Pantelleria. Well, normally we know it for Passito wines, but in this dry version, well, this enriches the aromatic flavor of this wine, adding up to the floral tones and apricot. Okay, so let's continue with the second wine. And this comes from Tienimenti Greco winery. This is in the Molise region, and this is a Falangina DOC Molise. This is called Passo alle Tremiti because the vineyards of the winery are very close to the sea, and they're located in front of the Tremiti Islands. And also in this case, we have the minerals, but this is given by the winds and the salt that comes from the sea. Because the land is facing the Tremiti Islands. So we have the winery in video connection, and we are in the municipalities of Porto Cannone in the province of Campobasso. Okay, let's see whether we have Flavia, video connected. Okay, let's have the producer, the winemaker, talk first. And then we will taste the wine. Well, in any case, I've seen that you have tasted it. This is okay. And then we will proceed also later on. So, Flavia. Hello, Flavia. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. So, thank you. And so the participants are about to taste your Falanghina, so Tremiti Islands, DOC Molise, and so a very short introduction with regard to our winery, because talking about the wine, just to make you understand. So we are in the Molise region, a little known region for wines and for winemaking. The region was called Abruzzo Molise, and then for political reasons, the two regions separated. And so we have this small niche together with Valle d'Aosta. Molise is one of the smallest regions in Italy. And, well, in our winery, well, I show you, you see here, our vineyards are all very close to the sea. Oh, yes. As a matter of fact, we can see the vineyards, and up there we can see we see the Tremiti Islands. Yes, in fact. And let me go into details with regard to the wine you're about to taste, Falanghina. We produce two, and Molise is a cultural melting pot, also with regard to the wine making. And white wines are mainly Falanghini. Maybe you know the Benevento produced ones, but also the Molise region produces one. And with regard to red wines, we have Montepulciano and also many others, and the Molisana, which is another one that we produce. And one additional thing, well, Italy, with regard to winemaking, is always connected to long traditions and history. So actually, our winery was established in 2013 by Antonio Greco, who, out of his passion, knowing little of wines, he decided to buy 25,000 hectares of land to grow with vine varieties, and therefore, and I am, and in the first 2 years, we dedicated to the domestic market, and then starting from 2015, we started penetrating international markets. So here, this is Passo alle Tremiti, this is the vineyard, so this is the Falanghina we are about to taste. Yes, yes. And so what you find in the glass, and maybe you're going to expand during the tasting, what you find is salt. And yes, minerals, but let's sap it. This Falanghina talks about the sea. So we have the influence of the mountains on one side, so the winds, and we're enclosed between the sea and the mountains. So in wintertime, when we go in the vineyards, so the grapes do have this sort of white film, and during the first harvest, we thought it was a disease, but actually this was a salt penetrating penetrating the berry, and therefore what you're about to drink is nature. Okay, thank you, Flavia. Yes, so let's start the tasting. And the nose is very sapid already. And so the Falangina wine, Molise DOC. So you can perceive these salty notes, almost salty notes, and it seems that you can have something rustic, something that is reminiscent of something salty. Before we were talking about an aromatic variety. Zibibo is very flowery, aromatic. And now we have seen the images Flavia showed us, and we can understand the reason why, in this case, we have this salty flavor. In addition, we can perceive fruits like pear, apple, and less the flowers. Yes, fruits, but more sapidity and minerals. So let's taste it. We perceive it's fresh, and this salty note that comes back, as Flavia was saying, from the olfactory, comes back from the olfactory analysis. So very well structured wine, and if I may make a difference between, note a difference between the Benevento Falangina. Well, the Confagricoltura Falangina is another Falangina clone that we find close to Naples. Still very rich in minerals, but due to the volcanic soil. So therefore, in that case, both fruity and also minerals, both. So do you have questions with regard to this wine? Well, it's so beautiful to find new areas like the Molise region with the Falangina, which is not only the Falangina coming from the Campania region. This one is the Molise region, as we said. And here, so let's continue with the next white wine. We have a Malvasia, Colli di Parma DOC, another aromatic wine. Malvasia is an aromatic variety, and we will find floral notes. So these are more recognizable varieties. And this Malvasia comes from Cantina dell'Asta winery. So we are in the Parma municipality. We have somebody video connected. Yes, we have. And let's introduce them. Colli di Parma, winemakers since 2010. And this is around the castle of Torre Chiara, so therefore bearing the same name. And so they have a winery where they also blend spumante wines. And let's see whether we have the connection ready. So maybe you can also start tasting it. So while waiting for the connection to... So this is a Candia Malvasia, aromatic, dry, slightly sparkling. And it is recommended with the raw ham of Parma. So this is the recommendation for the food combination. And well, and in fact, we have a very delicate taste. Do we have the video connection? No. Well, let's start with the tasting. Meanwhile, We're waiting for the video connection with the winery. Again, we perceive the floral notes that we perceive, as a matter of fact. And ecco, here they are. Okay. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. I just introduced your Malvasia wine. Okay. So we are located in Parma, in the zone, in the area of Langhirano, where the ham is also produced. And our winery has a microclimate and a very special terroir. Well, we grow the varieties on the hills here, very close to where we stayed. And we also have the marine wind that comes from the sea and comes to Langhirano. And also this also has an influence on the raw ham that is produced. So therefore, so we have a vivat growing method that we use, and this is at 400 meters of altitude, and we can explore this microclimate and the terroir. And this had already been used by the princes around in the 16th century. And we produce the wines. And we have maintained, we still use the classical method for our wines. So thank you for this introduction. And as a matter of fact, I suggested this wine to be combined also with the raw ham as a territorial combination, and also because I find that this aromatic wine comes very well, fits very well with the raw ham. In addition, these wines that are very mineral, very clean, are very interesting because Malvasia is considered a grandpa's wine, slightly sweetish, but today with the technology, the experience and expertise and the changed taste of people, we can better understand and appreciate the personality of this wine. And therefore, especially in our area, we'll eat a lot of salami and ham, etc. And thanks to the extraction of the minerals, we have seen that this Malvasia goes very well, goes hand in hand with raw ham. So, okay, if you agree, I can complete the tasting of your Malvasia wine. Okay, thank you. Thank you for participating. Thank you from here and from New York. Okay, so let's go back to the glass. We thank the producer. And if you tasted it, you could feel this freshness. And now you can understand that you can only but agree on the fact that this goes very well with a raw ham. But of course, this is not the end. Of course, also it can be combined with other regional recipes, aromatic, slightly sparkling and clean as compared to the Malvasia wines produced in the past. So Malvasia wine is very clean and the aromatic flavor can be very well managed. It should not be considered just a sweet wine. It's no longer just a sweet wine, and this is a demonstration of what he was saying. And we find it in this glass. And another special element that he said, this wind that makes the raw ham of Parma unique, as well as the wines produced in this area around Parma. Very pleasant indeed. And if you have no questions, we can proceed with the last white wine. Okay, it seems everybody's ready. So this is the next wine, white wine, Fiorduva by Marisa Cuomo, Amalfi Coast. And this is the blossom of the local grapes. the iris, and uh, and the winery is located in Furore, covering, and the land covers approximately 10 municipalities. And in addition, we have also heroic winemaking in place. So there are peculiarities, geomorphological conditions typical of this territory, and the winery takes care in gathering many local varieties, and so to make the wine be appreciated even more. So maybe these varieties are less renowned, and they come under the name of Fiorduva, which is the high-end wine of this winery. And in addition to this, well, the wine is then aged in barrique, in oak barrels, and this can be combined with the meat recipes, and also it can last over time with long durability. So this is our last white wine, more structured, different from the previous ones. The color is more intense, almost gold, and this is given by its blending. And here we have white fruits and flowers like broom, and this is what we normally perceive in these wines. And the Cuomo Ferraioli family dealing with these wines and increasing the reputation of the Amalfi Coast wines. So just a couple of words, because we do not have the video connection. Well, this wine was a gift for the bride, the Cuomo bride, and so therefore there is a love story behind, and this is evidence of the passion, evidence of the loving care that they also put in their winemaking activity. So they are based in Furore, and so they work locally, but they have grown internationally. So I let you taste also this wine. We can feel the difference compared to the other ones we have tasted before. More full-bodied. This wine is more full-bodied and more structured. It's a different category. We have seen aromatic varieties, mineral varieties, and this is a structured white wine with a great potential of aging and combination. And this is a very beautiful photograph of 3 local varieties. Local, yes. These are the wines. These are the wines that we are offered for breakfast at Sorrento. Do you have questions about Fiorduva? No. So maybe we can continue. So now we have completed the tasting of the white wines. Dry. The alcohol content is 14.5. So 14.5 alcohol content. So this means that we have a very structured white wine. So the question related to this full-bodied flavor. Not immediately you perceive the alcohol, but this is necessary for the balance of the wine to have such a high alcohol content. Maybe special for a white wine, but this is important. Well, but these are wines that are exposed to sunlight, so therefore obviously the sugar content is high. So let's start with the red wines. That we have a question from New York. Can you talk about the volcanic soil and the Marisa Cuomo wines? Well, the soil of Marisa Cuomo are not volcanic, but they are from the Dolomites, and they're very poor because they're rocky, they're rocks. And so, therefore, these are vineyards very close to the sea with terraces. And this is a very special form of growing used also in the Valtellina area. And these vineyards, these varieties are grown on the rocks and they climb the rocks. So therefore we have pergolas which are structured to fit the territory. So when I was talking about a heroic winemaking, this is due to the fact that these varieties are grown by hand and also harvested by hand. And in this case, so the land is not of volcanic origin, but dolomite, so it's rock. And there is a volcanic influence because of the eruptions of the Vesuvio volcano. That was also a sort of transfer of sand and minerals. But we cannot talk about the volcanic land because for the costiera, Amalfi costiera, we have this karstic and dolomite soil. I hope I have answered your question. And the influence that we have on the wine, also in this case, we have minerals, different minerals though, compared to what we've seen for the Pantelleria wine and this one. But nevertheless, they contribute, they help the local grapes to harmonize with the territory, because by choosing local grapes, we have a better snapshot of the territory, because these grapes adjusted to the geomorphological conditions, climatic conditions of that area. So, for this reason, we are analyzing these local grapes, local varieties, to make you understand how much important the Italian signature is.
Can I continue? Okay, I can continue then. So let's move to red wines, and let's go to a winery in Apulia, San Pietrana. The wine you see here is called the Cinquantino and is a Primitivo. It's a IGP, and we are in the province of Brindisi, but inland. So not along the coast, but inland, where we have the Alberello, which is different from the one of Pantelleria in the UNESCO heritage site. It's a different Alberello, also a little taller and with more branches than the previous one. For different reasons, for various reasons, we don't have the need to protect the grapes from the wind. So it's a typical Apulian training system. Apulia is a pride and joy of Italian winemaking, of the Italian winemaking industry. And Primitivo is much in demand, and it's growing because there has been a sort of transition. So initially it was sold in bulk, whereas now there are modernized wineries that make wines with indigenous varieties, such as this Primitivo. This Primitivo is an IGP, so it's a Puglia IGP, And in this case, the winery has 32 members, and they take care of the entire production chain and supply chain. They have a VRCFS certification, whereby they take care of all the production steps. This is 100% Primitivo, and it spends 6-8 months in oak barrels. And it's paired with cheeses and cured meats, but also grilled meat or roast meat, the typical bombette pugliese, which are meat rolls with the stuffing inside. For Cantiena San Pietrana, we should have Maria Elena Valente online, and she might say something more about the winery. Is she there? Yes, yes, here I am. So here we are, Elena and Stefano Cimino. Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. Straight from Puglia. Yes, exactly. Do I have to speak English or Italian? Well, you can speak Italian and we have simultaneous translation. We are very happy to be to participate in this event at Milano Wine Week with our Primitivo Cinquantino. And then there should be also a Riserva. Yes, at the moment we are tasting this one. Our winery was founded in 1952, so this was our 70th harvest. 70th vintage. We are a cooperative winery. We are between Brindisi and Lecce. We are in an area which has always been a farmland. In the 50s, there were more than 50 wineries. And because the soils and the position, the climate, we always have a constant wind, flow. I also talked about your Alberello Pugliese, and perhaps you can say something about that. Yes, we have these Alberelli. We have various plots, some 50-year-old and other 80-year-old vineyards dating back to 1938. This one was planted in 1970, so it's a 52-year-old, and it's the one that we use for this Cinquantino, for this wine. This wine is young because we want this Primitivo to be different from the others that are typically very robust and full-bodied and with high alcohol content, because we want this to be for young customers. And yes, Mariela is showing the bottle. And it's very nice. It looks like a comic on the label. Yes, the label is very nice. There is my father on the label, who is now 84 and still is working with me, with us. In that picture, he was 18. And when his brother got the first salary, he bought that motorbike for him. So we are a cooperative winery, but there are many families, so it's not just one family. We are a few families that are part of the cooperative winery. So this wine certainly has an intense color, typical of Primitivo. We all know Primitivo is a variety which is called Primitivo because it's an early harvest grape that ripens before Negro Amaro. And it's a variety that is very flavorful. In the 50s, 60s, and 70s, it was used to make other wines more robust, that didn't have this gift that comes from these very soils exposed under the sun and with a lot of minerals in the soils. And so this is more for young people, as I've said. We have 5 labels of Primitivo at our winery. And this is, we have been making this for 5 years now. It's giving us a lot of satisfaction, especially in the US. And so we say hello to our American friends from New York who are tasting our wine. So this Primitivo will be unusual, younger, brighter, more brilliant. And we can tell also from this bright color, bright, intense ruby red. That's it. So if you don't have anything else to add, so if nothing else to add, we can start tasting it. Please come visit us because our winery has also a holiday farm. So if you happen to be in Puglia, stop by at the winery. Thank you very much, and so enjoy your afternoon. And we taste this young, bright Primitivo with red berry notes, and on the palate, the perceive is present, yet very smooth, very delicate. If we compare it with just a usual Primitivo, or just a regular Primitivo that is more or even darker, this is a younger version. Their interpretation of Primitivo interpreted in a way which is, let's say, fresher and more easy drinking. So to drink immediately. It's very gastronomic, so it pairs very well with food. This is something we find in all these wines. So, as we've said, is a cooperative winery that makes interesting wines, including these gastronomic wines, which we can, of course, pair very easily with meals, with food in meals. Very well, we can continue. How are we doing on time? We don't have much time, I guess. However, let's continue with the next winery. So now we go to Calabria, Alto Monte, and we have Fervore from Terre di Balbia, Magliocco. This is ECT Calabria, it's organic, and it's aged in barrels, 50% barrique, 50% second stage barriques, and for 9 months, so it's kept in barriques for 9 months, and it's called the Terre di Balbia, and the area is named by Plinius, who made reference to Calabria that was very suitable for winemaking, and he called them Balbino. So Plinius, in Roman times, called this area Balbino, so which meant an area with good wine, Balbino. And let me see if we have anyone online. There should be, for Terre di Balbia, Mr. Giuseppe Chiappetta. Am I right? Yes, here he is. So straight from Calabria. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Yes, I would like to say something about my winery. You are connected with Milan and New York. We are tasting Fervore, Magliocco di Calabria IGT. Yes, we have a small family winery. We only have 10 hectares, and 8 are under vine. So we have a small production. We just make 25, 30,000 bottles a year. And we have 3 labels, as you can see from my picture. We make Rosato di Gaglioppo and 2 red wines. Of course, the most important red wine is Fervore, which is made of Magliocco. That is the other indigenous variety from Calabria, and it's the most important in the area we are from. We are close in the middle of Calabria, at the foot of the Pollino Apennine, of the Pollino mountain. And we are in an area which is very suitable for winemaking, very special. So, as you have said already, Plinius the Old mentioned this area, and where we have our vineyards. So, as I've said, we are a small winery, and so we work manually, we harvest by hand, and so we make these 3 organic wines, and two are indigenous, from indigenous varieties. Magliocco is the most important variety. Then we grow, and we use only our grapes to make our wine. And as you said quite rightfully, we put it on the market 5 years after harvest, because Magliocco has quite forceful tannins that require time to smoothen. And at the same time, these tannins are powerful, and therefore this wine has a great aging potential. And then the other characteristic of our wine is that the alcohol content is low. Despite we are in southern Italy, only in some years, in warmer years, like 2017, that you are tasting at the moment, we went up to 13 degrees. Generally, it's 12.5, 13 degrees in terms of alcohol content for this wine. I don't know if I can add anything else. Well, that's fine. You gave us a good overview of the territory and the winery. So now we taste the wine, and then so thank you for representing Calabria in person. We are exploring and traveling across Italy, and you're representing Calabria. We went to Puglia, and now we are in Calabria with you. Thank you for your contribution and for the wine we are tasting. Thank you. Thank you. Have a nice afternoon. Same to you. So as you can perceive in this glass, also compared with the previous one, which was easier to drink, this is more for aging, with more aging potential. We have secondary flavors resulting from the 50% new barriques and 50% old barriques. To dampen, to smooth these tannins, and also to make this wine age for longer. So we have a mix of red fruits and secondary aromas, spicy aromas that immediately tell us that this wine spent time in barrique. And on the palate, it's very astringent, and I can tell from your faces. I don't see the faces of people in New York, but I'm sure they can perceive the astringency of this wine. This is very gastronomic wine, but that needs to be paired with structured food, either aromatic cheeses or cured meats, and certainly meat dishes that can offset this tannic sensation, which is one of the distinctive features of this wine. So this is another Italian signature from Calabria, and therefore, do you have questions about this wine from Calabria? Any questions? So the distinctive feature is that it's 13 degrees, but generally it's not a very alcoholic wine. It's said that generally it's around 12.5, 12.5. And so this is, it has strong tannins. Very well. Let's go to the last but one wine. So we are in the area of Trasimeno Lake from the side of Umbria. We are in the municipality. Oh, sorry. I have to use my notes not to make mistakes. We are in Castiglione del Lago, Petrignano, and Vaiano, which are communities overlooking the Trasimeno Lake. This is called the Colli Trasimeno Dock, and it's called Corniolo, and it's a blend, unlike the other wines which were single variety. This is Sangiovese, Gamay, and 10% Cabernet Sauvignon. So they are at the heart of Umbria, with vineyards that are overlooking the lake. I think we have someone online from the winery for Cantine Duca della Conio. Is there anyone? Yes. I don't seem to switch on my. Yes, yes. Here you are. So Duca della Cornia. So we are tasting Corniolo. Welcome in Milan and in New York. I was just explaining where you are located, on the side of Umbria, along the Trasimeno Lake. Can you tell us more about the winery? Yes, thank you for your introduction. Our winery was founded in the midst of the previous century. We are in Umbria at the border with Tuscany. Our wines are mainly red wines made with Sangiovese and the Trasimeno, and also Nevroca and Cabernet Sauvignon. We also have white grapes, Malvasia, Trebbiano, and in particular Grechetto, which is an indigenous variety from Umbria. The wine we are presenting tonight is Corniolo. Corniolo, as you said, is 70% Sangiovese, but then we have a small portion of Cabernet Sauvignon and 20% Trasimeno Gamay. That makes it very distinctive because this variety is only present in our area. So we put it on the market 3 years after harvest, and so it's kept in barrique and concrete vats, and then in the bottles. And so the wine is 12 months of barrique, right? So it's a structured, full-bodied wine. And then I leave to you the description of the sensory characteristics. As to the pairings, you can pair it very well with red meat, roast meat, braised meat. You are in Città della Pieve, vai mai? No, we are in Castiglione del Lago. Okay, Castiglione del Lago. And so there is also Panicale and Città della Pieve that are the other municipality. And can you please confirm it's 12 months of barrique only? Yes, 12 months of barrique, but also cement vat, and then 1 year of aging in the bottle before it's put on the market. And the varieties are aged separately before blending them. So thank you very much, and thank you all. Okay, we will taste this blend. So we have various varieties and various steps in production and aging, and only 12 months of barrique, and then we have concrete and bottle. So it's a long period of time. The varieties are aged separately, 70% Sangiovese, 20% Trasimeno Gamay, and the rest is Cabernet Sauvignon. Trasimeno Gamay is the indigenous variety of this area called Colli di Trasimeno. We are in Umbria, in central Italy, and in this case we have the presence of the barrique of wood, This is the typical nose of a full-bodied red wine with primary notes, but also strong secondary and tertiary flavors and aromas, and also sweet spices. We can taste it, certainly tannins. You tasted it and you say, yes, tannins are strong. So you confirm this.
In any case, we perceive a Sangiovese, nice blend, a different version compared to the other Umbrian wines. This is the red wine by Duca della Corte. The last wine, and we are still healthy, but let's see when you stand up. But for the time being, you're seated and you seem alive. So the last wine, Sagrantino Montefalco Colle Piano by Arnaldo Caprai. So we are still in the Umbria region with a local wine, 100% Sagrantino, 22 months in French barrels, 6 months in the bottle. So this is a very young wine, coming directly from the cradle. But these are wines that can also be good for reselling, and so they can also last long. They can also be aged. And for Arnaldo Caprai, we should have somebody online, video connected, with Viviana, if I'm not mistaken. Yes. And she will talk about the company, and then we are going to have the tasting, and then we are going to close the tasting session. Okay, Viviana, good afternoon to you. Welcome to New York and Milan. We are in Umbria region, slightly south compared to the Montefalco municipality you've been mentioning before. Is this? We have Montefalco, DOC, Sagrantino, EGP, and also we have Grechetto. So this is a traditionally. This is an area traditionally dedicated to winemaking, and so we have local varieties. And what you will taste tonight is the most representative wine that has much of the history of the territory, and it narrates of the importance of making Sagrantino emerge, because it has great characteristics, very beautiful structure, depth, and it is multi-layered. So different layers that reflect richness in polyphenols, and therefore this gives great richness and potential for aging. Well, Sagrantino over the years has improved its potential and characteristics, adjusting more and more its characteristics, main characteristics, like the power and the elegance of the tannin, and this frees up a very interesting body. And Colle Piano 2018, which is the year which is almost finishing, demonstrates how over time this variety, I like the term taming, so freeing up the characteristics, the intriguing characteristics, the silky characteristics of Sagrantino. And in my opinion, the work of the years of time reaches, especially with the 2018 year, reaches one of the most interesting expressions of Sagrantino. So French barrique for 2 months and 6 months in the bottle, and the aging potential reaches 15 years. Well, you are an historic, traditional winery of the Umbria region, and in addition to the local varieties, you also experimented with the enologist Michel Roland. You explored also many other layers that this variety could offer. So, meaning you remain rooted in the territory, but you also look for modernization and taming it according to your ideas. Yes, in fact. Well, of course, tradition may also be channeled through modernity and innovation, also raising the interest of international consumers, starting also with the consultancy with Michel Roland in 2015. So thank you, Viviana. So let's conclude this masterclass with your Valepiana 2018, and thank you for participating. Thank you. Okay, so now this is the last glass. So we perceive again a tamed wine, but we also feel the power of Sagrantino. So this is red wine, very much structured with tannins and 22 months of aging, a traditional version, but still with modern touches to be appreciated also abroad in international markets. Okay, so thank you. I thank you. I hope that you received the message of this masterclass. So exploring Italian signature through the glasses, wines that we have tasted, the regions, and we've seen different territories, different local varieties, and different interpretations by the wineries. Thank you for participating. So here there is the lineup. You can come and take a picture.
Eccoci qua.